Married men on Reddit. What's the dumb thing that you did during your dating phase that you believe your wife ended up overlooking? Not my story, but my parents. Some backstory: my dad has a brother who is only a couple of years older. Growing up, they'd commonly try to steal food off each other's plates just to be assholes to each other. They remedied by plate guarding defensive maneuvers with utensils if hands get too close. One of my parents' first dates, my mom reached for something, and to try off my dad's plate, he instinctively stabbed her hand with the back of the fork. Due blood, nothing, and was obviously mortified glad my mom was crazy enough to keep dating, marry, and procreate with the fork stabber. On our second date, I arrived 1 hour late. When I went to greet her and a little bit of hug, yep, that's how we greet people around. I accidentally knocked her phone off her hand. It hit the ground, cracked the screen, but I wasn't sure if it was really cracked. I apologized. She said it was okay, but that was the screen that was already like that before. Almost a year later, she confessed that I actually brought her phone that day. She had just gotten it from her mom. All phones she had ever used secondhand, very simple ones. She couldn't afford a new one at that time, but still she lied to kept using the phone book so I wouldn't feel bad. My heart sank. We've been married for 2 years, and now I've given her a brand new flagship phone every year since. On my first date, with my wife, we got to talking about tattoos. I have a rule that I have an idea for a tattoo. I sit on it for a while to see if I'd really still want it. I mentioned it to her and explained how glad it was if the other side I'd be covered in the tool, the band, tattoos of some other dumb shit. She rolled up her sleeves to show me the other lyrics of a song tattooed across her arm. The lyrics are, "All this pain is an illusion from Parabola." For the record, I still don't really hate Tool. I just used to super into the high school and have since grown up of them. I still put them on once in a while. My oldest brother, ironically, has a creep tattoo on his leg. There's always somebody out there who has worse than you. My husband kept calling me by the name of his previous girlfriend on our first date. I finally told him to give her a call because he was clearly unfinished business to talk about. He did, and she reminded him that he was happy to have her out of his life, and never again did he call me by her name. 40 years later, it seems to have worked out in my favor. My husband broke my thumb one night when we slightly were tipsy, horseplay, and got too hard, I think. Drunk memory. He slammed my hand against something. We both heard the pop, and I went in tears. Not the married man, but on probably our third date or fourth date, my man mixed our soups. I got a watermelon gizapo, a cold soup, and he got a seafood bisque. I'm a shopper, so we both tasted and didn't love mine, but we loved his. After tasting this, he boldly yet nervously stated, "Mine is so great, I got this," while pouring two soups into one. It was like the worst lukewarm thing I've ever tasted. 5 years later, we never mixed soups again. Too risky. Accidentally set her on fire with a match while lighting my cigarette. Not good. We're still married 29 years later. I don't smoke anymore. We drank a lot on our second date. Ubered home. Next day, we went back to get this car. It wasn't there. He was so devastated. He just bought it recently and it was stolen. We filed a police report. Took forever, just generally sacked. We walked to his friend's house nearby and there was his car, perfectly unstolen. He drank so he forgot he moved it before our date. Now, once in a while, we're trying to find our car groceries parking at the lot. One of us would say, "It is stolen, call the police." I was just sitting on the couch as we were playing Wii bowling. She was standing behind the couch, loving holding me and drawing me back Wii motorwam. I walked her in the face and we mowed at full strength. Her mom was also in the room. Instead, that thinking San Francisco was walking distance from everything else, we decided that we should walk from Pier 39 to Gold Gate Park. It is walkable, but not third date walkable, or whatever shoes she happened to be wearing on that day walkable. As someone familiar with San Francisco, I googled it 6.5 miles apart, a 2 hour walk, while according to Google, it's a shit ton of hills. Google is giving me a warning. I've never seen before walking directions and not reflect real world conditions. It looks like the elevation changes back and forth a couple of 100 feet more than once. My uncle didn't call his now wife for over a year after they had first met. He got her number, he kept the paper she wrote on it, and ended up finding it, calling her asking if he still remembered and he was still interested on going on a date. Wife here, but about weeks into our dating, my husband invited me to a house party at his best friend's place. While we were playing beer pong, having fun, the other team is up. They toss the ball. I lean forward and try to knock it, and now my husband extends hands was in front of me at the same time, catching the ball but at the same time hitting me in the eye and somehow pulling out 3/4 of my eyelashes. It was terrible. But tried to bend off my eyelashes in drunken sympathy. He hates when I bring it up, and I think it's the funniest story. She was about to sneeze when she was sitting half on my lap, so I kind of thought she's gonna sneeze on me. I don't know what I was thinking, but I put her hand up to block her sneeze, except I hit a glass on her hand and blocked her own hand covering her sneeze, and instead she slammed on my face into the glass. Married 6 years now, she still has all her teeth. We were talking about the shower together, and she was soaping while I was under the hot water rinsing off, and she slammed instead of helping. I pulled away, thinking for some reason I would rather rinse off and didn't want to get soapy. Thank God she caught herself on the shower curtain and didn't really hurt. She was not happy. My explanation of my faulty thinking didn't help at all. Either we laugh about it now, but it looked so serious smoothing over there at that time. I did something along this line. We were taking a shower and hubby, BF at that time, decided to make a tickle fight when I hated being tickled, so instinctively pushed him. This caused him to fall out of the shower and hit his back on the toilet. He ended up with a giant bruise on his back, and I was bruising my eyes out because I thought I'd kill him or our relationship. We have been together for 7 years now, married for 4, but I still don't live this one down. I made myself a burger for dinner because heading over to her place to hang out. Unfortunately, I'm not the best of cooks and left a little too much pink in that burger while we were at the house. I bet I could fit through the doggy door and crawled 9 through. She immediately closed it behind me and we raced in the front door. She won and she looked at it. Now it's the exact moment my bowels decided that I had enough of the burger for one day. I felt stomach cramp. Luckily, I held it and ran back in the door and my cheeks clenched and started knocking desperately on the door. She was laughing at first, and when she saw my face suddenly serious, I said calmly, "I need to open the door now, please." She unlocked the door and asked if I was okay. I told her to stay downstairs and turn on the TV. She agreed but was confused. I ran upstairs and had one of the most violent shits of my whole life. I thought the worst was behind me until I went to wipe, and of course, no TV. So she took my instructions really well, and when I yelled at her and texted and called her. I got the answer. After probably like 10 missed calls, she finally answered. I asked her to bring some TP and leave it outside the door to breathe on the staircase. She was great about it and immediately started making fun of me. When I called back downstairs, I now quite a few years later, a couple and kids and cats, she's still making fun of me. On our first date dinner, my husband ordered a shit ton of food to show his favorite Indian restaurant and forgot his wallet at home. And now discovering, so when the check arrived, cleared me out well over $100 and was absolutely mortified. But we've been married for nearly 2 years, so when I kneeled on purpose, I landed on a sharp rock, and when I knelt down to propose, I landed on a sharp rock, and we had to go to the ER because I lodged a kneecap. Wow, did you expect this to get so many upvotes? My wife demands I make a minor correction to adequately embarrass myself. She said that I can tell the story to leave her absolute favorite detail because the kneecap situation I forgot to actually ask. She thought I got nervous and froze up and decided to save me by just saying yes. She also stopped me from pulling the rock out of the kneecap with a trusty weatherman, which turned out to be a correct decision. She was a little bummed that I wasn't simply choked with emotion, but the situation as a whole is now very fond memory. Side note, driving a manual transmission with a rock sticking out of the one's knee is not super fun. I once tackled my then girlfriend out of a misplaced enthusiasm in high school. I was excited to see her handle it badly as possible. It was fun and a bunch of our friends, and I ended up knocking the wind out of her and making her cry. That was 17 years ago. We're still together. I also licked my plate at a fancy restaurant because the salad dressing was so good. She still brings it up every time, once in every few years. We had come back from class. Our dorm was right next to the school, so we walked, started studying, and turned into kissing. Once we were horizontal, I felt a shit of guts. I took a chance most of my gas that day and being dry silent, so it felt safe. As soon as I let go, I knew I was in trouble. As I stood up, she repulsively sniffed the air and asked if I let one rip. I simply said I shit myself and needed to ride home. We went in the moves and plan afterwards, pretty sure that's when she fell in love.